It's a hot Wednesday morning, and I'm not just talking about the heat wave heating up Nigeria. I'm talking the National Assembly, INEC, and more. If you don't know what I'm talking about, then you've come to the right place to be in the know. It's just 3 o'clock, and we're here for you. Thank you for being here with us. We've got a lot to unpack and a limited amount of time to do it, so let's get to it. Ladies, it's still Women's Month. And just yesterday, I was thinking just how many interviews we've had on the show. There's always a topic to get into and a guest to dissect it, you know? But our Jasi family is growing, especially as we're now on GoTV Channel 23. We want you to get to know us. Okay, let me not say we. This was my decision. Yes. I want you to get to know the ladies a little better.
Thank you for owning up.
You're so afraid. Today on Jasi, we're flipping the script and putting one of our very own in the hot seat. Wow. And it's not every day that we get to turn the spotlight on the co-host. But today, we're doing just that. Every Wednesday for the next few weeks, we will interview one of us on your behalf. And hopefully, we'll ask the questions you've always wanted to ask us and get you to know us better. So without further ado, you hear her voice, you see her energy, but how well do you really know her? Let's find out about her passions and experiences that shape her perspective on the stories we bring to you every day. So sit back and relax, and let's get to know Blessings Mosugu a little better. Hello, Blessings.
You know, I was waiting for a montage because of the way.
I did not have time.
I don't know.
But I like it. I'll do your own again. You know what? I'll do a massage. And then we'll do profile. You think I'm playing with two people? I'll not do profile. Put your picture and put. You know, Ezioma, you have a task to do. Give me profile. All right. Blessings, welcome to Jasi. How are you today?
I'm fine.
No, really, as Catherine would say, how are you?
How are you today?
Well, I'm not fine.
Has to be expected.
Well, things are not as smooth as they should be, and you know, I always say, because I'm part of the young generation that always says, "Oh, when I grow up, I can afford this, I can do that." But in which I thought everything costs, so that's where we are. Yeah.
Okay. So, do you guys want to start? Because I have questions. I was on WhatsApp with questions for her.
Wow.
Yes. And you already know what Lolo is going to ask, but we don't know if she's going to follow her hand.
All right. I would say maybe because I'm enamored by her all the time. How does it feel to be like a super creative? Because a lot of people say jack of all trade, master of none. But I've seen you master a lot of things that you're very passionate about. How do you get around all that you do?
So I would say that it's fascinating and it's disturbing at the same time. Fascinating because I live in my mind a lot, so I get creative. Sometimes in my home and I'm just, you know, when you have that eureka moment, oh my God, this just, you know, ideas are popping up and you're excited by the things you're able to create in your mind. Sometimes it's like a burden because you cannot exactly, you know, implement or experiment, especially because not like I care much what people think, but sometimes I'm very skeptical about what I put out, about what I do. So yes, that's a fascinating part of it, but it's also very disturbing because sometimes you don't know what to major in. Right, you think, you know, you just pretend like you're cool, but deep down I'm like, are you sure I should stop sewing? Are you sure I should start sewing? Are you sure I should stop singing? Are you sure
always doubting.
So you don't know which one you're best at, right? I think I'm very good at the media because I do it all the time, but what if I'm better at singing? What if I don't know because I don't do it all the time? So it's just two sides of a coin.
So if you were not a journalist, what would you be?
Alaji's wife.
Huh? Whose wife? Alaji's wife.
No, you can't.
No, it's okay. It's all right. No. We all want the soft life. Maybe we live different versions of ourselves.
I mean, if I weren't a journalist,
you can't say they're not doing anything. You're not. It's not you.
Yeah, I would have been singing. You know,
full time, professionally.
Yes.
Okay. So, what are my questions for you? What would you say was an event in your life that was monumental and impactful, whether negative or positive, but an event that in the timeline of your life has always been something you look back at with whatever emotions it may be?
Well, I think it was a series of events, right? Whenever people downplayed my abilities, right? Especially because of my age or because of where I come from. And now I wear it as a cloak of honor because I always jokingly say I'm a village girl. But there was a time that was what people shamed me with. Like, you're from Kogi State, what's that? Where's that? You know. So because of that,
we know you now
But Kogi State is shaming her currently.
Exactly. But no,
For the moment.
It's just a moment.
Yeah.
but you know, so I mean, coming to Lagos, seeing everything, getting exposed to a lot of things, and then people still labeling me by where I'm from. At first, it was like something I was embarrassed by, but now it's something I'm proud of, right? I'm not where I want to be yet, but I'm like, when I get to where I'm going, they'll be like, oh, she's Kogi. You will know Kogi because of me.
For good things.
Exactly.
For good things. How do you feel about pretty girl privilege? Has it been, I know you probably had experiences where it's worked for you, but also worked against you.
So, well, I wouldn't say I've had it a lot, but I mean, I have experienced it. And to be honest, on my own part, it gives me this, what's the word? Imposter.
Imposter.
Because you know that they know it's because you're fine that you're in that room, right? And so until I'm able to prove myself, I'm scared. Like, okay, what if I don't do as much? What if deep down they're like, it's just because she's fine, she's doing that. And then, you know, the negative, well, it's always a negative, to be honest. I don't think I've ever seen the positive side of it. Another negative is, one example I gave recently that someone wanted me to host an event because he has seen how good I was. But he had to sell me to one of the organizers who is his uncle as someone he's interested in. And because of that, the uncle now said, oh, let me see her picture. Oh, okay, she's actually fine. And then it now looked like he wanted to start considering it because of what I looked like. So in my mind, I'm like, should I do this? Should I not? Because I felt some kind of way. So it's not always a good feeling for me. It's never been.
What's your, as a woman in a workspace, a lot of times they'll say that we're meant to butt heads. What's your philosophy about working with people? Because I know it can be very challenging because the media space is highly competitive. So how do you deal with competition from peers and even seniors or people that you look up to? Because it can exist up, it can exist down.
So I think the blessing in it for me is I've always been in a room where almost everyone is ahead of me with experience, with age. So I would always jokingly say that I don't have that pressure of competition because where I am is not where my peers are. I am in the room with older people. I am dealing with veterans. So for me, it's more, yes, there are times when, especially with social media, right? I don't think I would have had that challenge at all if it weren't for social media because on social media, you see a lot of people your age and even younger doing things that you feel like you can do even better. So with social media, I just try to see it as, I don't exactly do collaboration competition because I'm not a very outgoing, outdoorsy person, so I don't collaborate a lot, but I learn from people. I see it as a challenge. Oh, this person can do this. I think I can, you know, and I don't have to do exactly what you're doing. I have my own USP, and so I just harness it and make the most of it. But honestly, one thing I'm very blessed about is the fact that in this media space, I don't exactly compete or, work with my age mates. It has always been people ahead of me. And so in a room, I see myself as the least experienced because that's what it is. And so I have the opportunity to learn. I can ask questions without feeling like, oh, this girl is my age mate and she's still asking these kind of questions. I see everyone as my aunties, my mommies, and so I learn every day.
That's a beautiful thing, to be able to see that and turn it around to suit you. I mean, to tailor it to the journey that you're on. Okay, so I would just quickly ask you, how do you navigate, like, there's some days you're not feeling up to 100, and there's some times that you have problems, and situations like that, how do you surmount those difficulties, challenges at work, personal life, just as a person, how do you rise above your challenges every day?
So the truth is, I think I'm still learning to rise above them because sometimes when you think that you have been hit with everything, yes, a new one hits you. It's like a new strain of COVID, and you're like, where is this coming from?
I like that.
But one thing I've learned, and to be honest, for a long time, I did not understand the need to allow yourself be in the moment. And when I say be in the moment, it's not just enjoying the moment. Allow yourself cry. Allow yourself sulk. Allow yourself feel disappointed. Sometimes I say I beat myself up, I hate myself for this. I allow myself express myself to myself. So that's why I like being alone a lot of times. So something happens, I'm disappointed by something, I feel rejected, I feel sad, someone hurt me. I make sure that when I'm alone, sometimes even if it happens in the workspace, I find a place. I sulk, I cry if I need to, because at the end of the day, I'm human. And if I keep bottling up those feelings, at some point there'll just be an outburst, and I am wondering, where's this from? So when I now allow myself to do that, then I remind myself who I am. You're more than this, right? This will not affect your professionalism. So I go on air, I see myself as a professional person because I've cried, right? I've dumped it, I've talked to myself
so you
about
just
it,
keep going.
and so I just keep going.
I have two questions. One, what's your biggest fear? Two, why are you such a loner?
Okay, so my biggest fear is not succeeding as much as I have envisioned in my mind.
Yeah.
Every day there's a new expectation that I create for myself, and it's now beginning to look unreal, because it's like my dreams are big. You know, they say if your dreams don't scare you, that's me. My dreams are way bigger than I. And so every day I wake up, I'm thinking, what if this never happens? What if I never get there? There are a lot of what ifs. What if I end up being average? So that's my biggest fear. Being a loner, honestly, it's not intentional. A lot of people feel, oh, she just doesn't like people. She doesn't.
You only like Asher.
Like association. What?
You only like Asher.
Because at least he can't talk, he can't hurt me. I've been burnt a lot. You know, I jokingly say to people that I'm glad that I'm this skin color, because if I was more light skinned, it would have been obvious that I was burnt. I've been so burnt by friendships, by relationships, by some family members. Honestly, I feel like I've gone through more than someone my age should have gone through when it comes to relationships. And this was right from my secondary school days. It's like a movie. The first time I ever felt hot, people set me up, like they put exam expo in my bag. You know, some things that you never would have expected would happen. And so because of that, I had issues relating with girls. And then I chose male friends. And then eventually I also got burnt by males. So it's just, I've never seen myself as lucky enough to have that one person that actually has my back. And one thing about me, I do not like being vulnerable. So when I'm vulnerable, when someone hurts me, I'm not exactly angry that they did what they did, because one of my mantra is I'm never disappointed by anyone or anything. So when you do something, I'm like, yeah, maybe I saw it coming. But what hurts me the most is the fact that I allowed myself to be vulnerable to you. So I feel naked. So that's the thing. I'm praying to God for the people in my life that will make me no longer be a loner. But for now, I'm just protecting my peace.
So let me ask you one last question, at least from me. What would Blessing tell Blessing at 18 right now? Because I know you're past 18, because 18 I chose because that's when you just get into your adulthood. Like, okay, I'm my own person. What would you tell the Blessings that was?
So I think I will, and this is a very vain statement, but honestly, I will start by saying you're not as dark-skinned as you thought. You know, someone posted something yesterday about insecurities, and I remember how in school they used to call me Dudu Oshu and all that, and then I started...
Really?
Yes, I started feeling like I was so black, you know, and that contributed to my insecurities, right? I hated my skin color, even at 18. Yes.
I am not even as dark as I am.
So there's that, and then secondly, you're not dull. That's another thing that I felt like I was, you know. I feel like I battled imposter for the long time. And for every time I came tops in class or, you know, I was the best in a presentation, I didn't feel like I deserved it because I didn't feel like I was prepared enough. In fact, sometimes I'll tell myself it's because the best people are not in the room. And so what I would say to Blessings at 18 is you're brighter than you thought you were. And, you know, there's more to come than you expected.
And you know, this skin color thing she says, I think it also comes with money, peace of mind, and not being outside. You're not hustling like before. You're not on the streets. I look at myself, I look at some pictures, I'm like, auntie, and somebody will accuse me of bleach. No, I'm lazy, I'm under the sun. I use sunscreen. I spend money on expensive skincare. And it works. And it worked. But that was really nice. And it was really interesting because you don't know how vulnerable you were just now. You were really... So we're going to do this. All of us, every single one of us is going to face the questions from the other ladies, but that'll be in the coming weeks. Now, when we come back, we get into what is arguably the biggest story in Nigeria right now. Let me finish. I sound like a cloud. The Senate Committee on Ethics, Privileges, and Public Petitions studied a probe into Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan's allegations of sexual harassment against Senate President Godswill Akpabio. But it did not go as expected. We'll get into the details after this. Stay with us.
want to sing a song that will be probably inappropriate for this discussion. But I can feel Tolu's eyes boring into me.
Because I'm looking at your shoulder.
Okay. So let's just get... this is my DOP. God. Let's get straight into serious matter. The matter at hand. So, on Tuesday, the first sitting of the Senate Committee on Ethics, Privileges and Public Petitions into the sexual harassment allegations against the Senate President sat. The petitioners had insisted the chair of the committee, Neda Imaswen, recuse himself as they don't believe a fair hearing would be granted to them. They said this because in an interview on the matter, Imaswen had described Akpoti-Uduaghan's petition as, in quote, dead on arrival, end of quote. Hence, their suspicion that the committee could be biased. He pushed back, explaining that the comments related to the first petition she had submitted on March 5th. Senator Akpoti-Uduaghan initially filed the petition herself on that day, but it was rejected because according to Senate rules, such petitions must be submitted by a constituent, not by a lawmaker involved. So, his explanation, however, didn't seem to convince the petitioners. However, things quickly became chaotic after that when there was a back and forth between Deputy Chief Whip of the Senate, Nwebonyi, who was sitting as a witness for the Senate President, and former Minister of Education, Dr. Oby Ezekwesili, who accompanied the petitioner for Senator Akpoti-Uduaghan. Okay, enough of the talk. Let's watch this.
Wow, there has been a lot of back and forth as to who started it and who said what. In an interview, Senator Nwebonyi said his issue with Dr. Ezekwesili started when they asked her to be on oath because she was a witness. She said no, she would not be on oath. And then he said he wanted to take his own oath, and he was addressing the presiding officer. She turned to him and said, "Will you shut up your mouth?" And he said, "No, ma," withdraw that statement. But she went further to say, "Shut up your mouth. You are a hooligan." Then he also fired back at her and said, "You are the hooligan. For a mother like you, a grandmother of your age, a federal minister of the Federal Republic, to tell a sitting senator to shut up his mouth." He didn't stop there. He also said to Dr. Oby Ezekwesili, "You are an insult to womanhood." Initially, he stood by his statements, but later on, while maintaining that his reaction was provoked by her actions, he acknowledged that his remarks were inappropriate, particularly given Ezekwesili's age. "I regret my choice of words to her because she was old enough to be my mother. But like I said, it was her action that brought up my reaction. But having admitted publicly that she said so, I give it to her."
Now, according to Dr. Ezekwesili, while they were at the Senate committee meeting, they said, "We are serious. We do serious things here. We don't have time for unserious things." She raised her hands and said, "I actually think that's a wrong use of words. We are not unserious people. This is a serious matter." There was back and forth about the petitioner saying he wasn't going to go to his main petition until they assured him on the two objections that he had, when suddenly Senator Nwebonyi said, "If they're not serious about giving any testimony, I'm here to represent the Senate President as a respondent, and we cannot continue with this." Then Dr. Oby Ezekwesili said to him, "Can you please shut up?" And she said this because they were told they couldn't speak because no conversation will take place without objections being addressed. Then the ruckus between them started. Ladies, that's part one. Let's look at reactions on the exchange.
He's definitely part one. Now tell me, will this so-called senator be suspended for unruly behavior so a male senator can rant like this? That's one of the reactions. Are we expecting 6 months suspension? Another question. I must say, I noticed how she maintained a calm tone and a voice throughout. When you big, I beg. How loud does not determine quality or value. Nigeria must be great again. When they have lost an argument, they start raising their voice to intimidate the person. This is not heated. I can only hear a man trying to shout down a woman. What embarrassment that we have people in leadership that cannot maintain decorum in public engagements. He was obviously angry at something Obi said. The video didn't capture what he was reacting to. This senator at Senator Onyekachi clearly lacks awareness of the gravity of his actions. Even the Senate President, whom he supports, would neither publicly nor privately insult Oby Ezekwesili. I strongly advise him to issue an unreserved apology to Madam Oby without delay. His conduct is a disgrace to the men of the Southeast. This behavior does not reflect our values. We hold our mothers in the highest regard and treat them with respect and honor. I like her composure and maturity. She's not saying too much, neither is she shouting. On a normal day, aside age, Nwebonyi Abina cannot and will never be able to stand Madam Ezekwesili. That's all for now. I say, Blessing said it's part one because we're loading on this story. Honestly, I don't know where to start. So as someone said, because that was a large part, I watched a number of the interviews. He had an interview last night. She had an interview last night. And then she was also on Breakfast Central this morning. So if you haven't caught the full interview with Dr. Oby Ezekwesili, you can go to our YouTube channel and watch it, where she explains the situation. I was listening, and she acknowledges that she did tell him to keep quiet. Will you shut up? But she said that it was in response to the fact that it felt like they were being, the petitioners who were coming before the Senate committee were being overridden. We're not being allowed to speak. Why are you allowed to speak? And this really has caused a range of conversation. Some have said that she's speaking to a sitting senator, that she should not speak to him like that. Some have said that she's speaking to a man, she should not speak to a man like that. That those things are justification for his reactions afterwards.
No, that is where I disagree. When my partner was talking about this morning, I believe in decorum and I believe in respect. And there are some words that we can use and the context in which you used it. I'm not saying that I agree with her saying, shut up your mouth, really. Maybe I would have wanted her to say it in a different way, maybe keep quiet. But you know, sometimes it's in the moment that you say something. But my argument is not because she's talking to a man. It's not because she's talking to a senator. It's because she's talking to a human being. So I would disagree with the fact that, oh, she's disrespecting a man. I've heard people's reaction like, oh, she's disrespecting a married man. Who is she to talk to a man like that? No. That is, it's not a gender issue. It's, even if she has said that to a woman, I would have still wanted her to say it in a better way. Because women now, we are like, they want to fry us. And now we will now put oil and some pepper and sprinkle a little bit of salt so that the roasting can be sweeter. Those are the things that I want us to tread cautiously. Because on this sensitive matter, they're looking for every possible means to make sure that their voices are silenced. And being an older woman, I don't agree, honestly, with shut up your mouth for any human being, because it's a professional setting. If it had been some other setting, you'd have said, okay. And I don't think she said it because of his age. It was just in the moment. I can be angry with Catherine and say, would you keep quiet? And I can say that to Blessing too, but it will not be appropriate.
Okay, but just in the moment.
No, in the moment, it will not still be appropriate. So it's not like I expected her to, I would have wanted her to say it a different way. But the fact that people are now making it gender-based, that, oh, she had no right to speak to him because he's a man. No.
And that would mean that he had no right to speak to her like that.
So exactly.
As a woman also.
We're making it gender-based, because honestly, I listened to the words that he said, and we might also still argue that his own reaction was in the heat of the moment. But there's some words he wouldn't say to a fellow man. You would never hear him say you are a disgrace to manhood, because I mean, I was surprised when I heard you are a disgrace to womanhood, which you're not a part of. How do you even know? So it's still plays to, oh, she's a woman talking to me anyhow.
That's what I don't disagree. I disagree with.
I feel like that's what it is. Because yes, you can have arguments. I'm not even going to say that it cannot be heated, but there's some words that he said that should not have been said. Like, he had no right to say that.
I agree. Blessings, when Blessing says there's some words that you wouldn't say to a man, that's clear. And I think that's what a lot of Nigerians picked up on when in their reactions, when they said, oh, are we awaiting 6 months, a suspension, are we? Because they know that you can't, so it's okay for a man to rant. Now, I know that this case is already getting, everybody is
tense. That's what I wanted to say. Even before the first gavel like this, there's tension in that place.
There's tension, and everyone is just walking on a tight string. So any little thing, I didn't expect that he would speak like that or behave like that. But then again, what do we expect? Whether we like it or not, our men need to do better. And you are in an office, you say you are representing the Senate President.
He's the deputy chief whip of the Senate.
You don't understand the office which you represent. Forget emotions, forget. Sir, if you understood the office that you represent and the importance and the power that office holds, there's some things you're not involved in.
So he was even saying something along the lines of, who are you? Nigerians have gone to bring out Dr. Ezekwesili's file. That in fact, do we want to do profile for profile? But you know, that's how I want us to hear from her. We have the sound bite from when she was on breakfast this morning. Let's take a listen.
I believe that we're reasonable people. You wouldn't say, shut up, or please shut up to anyone without a context. And that context was essentially that he apparently came to the session as a witness for the Senate President. So he wasn't in his capacity as a senator member of the committee. He was simply there as he introduced a witness for the Senate President, the respondent to the petition by Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan. Now, Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan could not be at that session because, as you know, she was illegally and unconstitutionally suspended from the Senate. And also the person who represented her as the one who signed her petition, according to the procedural rules of the Senate, was the one we accompanied. I accompanied him along with Dr. Abiola Akiode Afolabi, who was also in the place of a counsel to him. And so the beginning of the conversation was actually very inappropriate in the sense that the chair of the Senate, as well as the members of the Senate, basically said we were unserious just because the petitioner, Mr. Suberu Zararuma, had indicated that he wanted to raise objections before taking an oath, and they said he couldn't say anything to them without taking an oath. So he said that the objections I want to raise are material for what
So as I said, this is a very involved story because part of the petitioner's objections were they were concerned, I'm so sorry, I have sore throats. They were concerned about their ability to have a fair hearing in front of this panel. One, they talked about the previous statements that the chairman of the panel had made, Neda Imaswe, in regards to dead on arrival. We're going to get into that later on. And one or two other points as well. But I think it's also important, if you watch the video back, there's a young gentleman at the back who apparently had gotten instructions from somebody else to turn off both of their microphones. So he goes and he turns off Dr. Ezekwesili's microphone.
Yes.
Let's roll that tape, please. He turns off Dr. Ezekwesili's microphone the first time. And then he goes to the senator.
Yes,
the senator waves him aside.
Yes.
Then he comes back, and you also see the woman who's also, people are trying to sort of douse the tension. Then the young man comes back. And there's this man who's wearing, is it like a maroon tie, who eventually comes to the woman who's trying to calm the senator down to tell her to leave him alone and leave his microphone when she was trying to turn off his microphone. But then this young man, you can see him looking at somebody for instructions. This young man, do you see, telling him, leave him alone, don't turn off his microphone. But then goes to Dr. Ezekwesili, and for the next like 5 or 6 times, he'll turn it off, he'll turn it off, he'll turn it off. Why? Why would we allow the senator to be speaking in this kind of situation where tempers are busy or emotions are running high? And then you see, the same time the young man is turning off her mic and she's turning off. The man in the suit is saying, leave the senator alone.
But this is what we're talking about. But these are the things I like.
Everybody's mic.
No, I like this that is happening because I want everybody to see what is really happening. Because if we're couching and dancing this thing quietly, they have been doing a lot of things behind.
Oh, we're going to get to the
now a lot of things, this is glaring. It's obvious that they are trying desperately to silence
it's obvious, and
the other party. The man is pointing his fingers at. I'm sure they are not that much. He probably would have touched her.
You know exactly what they're coming to do, and you want to be the one with the last word.
Dr. Ezekwesili is better than me. I would have slapped his hand.
He was pointing his fingers at her face. He would have touched her if he wasn't held back.
Let's go on a break. As we said, this story is unfolding. We'll continue to talk about issues that happened that were raised at the Senate committee, and then get into INEC's statement on the petition for recall. Stay with us.
Welcome back, and of course, if this is not the show to beat, then I do not know what other show there is. Honestly, you're watching Jasiri, and today we're taking time to break down the latest in the Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan saga. On Tuesday, an exchange of words while the Senate Committee on Ethics, Privileges and Public Petitions overshadowed the main reason the committee was meeting, which was to look into the sexual harassment allegations. After the brouhaha between the Deputy Chief Whip of the Senate, Onyekachi Nwebonyi, and the former Minister of Education, Dr. Oby Ezekwesili, the petitioner spoke to the press. Let's hear it.
They exactly did the same thing. They were determined to use the camouflage of the rules of the Senate to make it impossible for a petitioner that says this Senate committee will not give me fair hearing, and I need that fair hearing. There is a bias, and it is evident in the series of things that have come out of this Senate. Therefore, I am requesting under the rules of fair play and the Constitution that you, as the Senate, should have a new specially constituted committee that would give me confidence to come before you and to enter into the deliberation on my petition. And second, he insisted that if Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan, who was banned from coming anywhere near the Senate premises, is not with him, it would injure her even more, because she is the primary witness, principal witness on this matter.
The petition has been there before the court's matter. So since they were aware, even if it was not before, but they were aware before today, and before they sent the invitation to the petitioner that the matter was already in court, that was enough reason for them to just write to the petitioner to say, we cannot take your petition because this matter was already in court. So for calling him to come today also shows to a large extent their bias and their disrespect for the Constitution of Nigeria.
So 2 points that were particular to yesterday's situation, and that's from the petitioner. They were asking him to enter into oath so that they could start, but he said no. One, he's worried and he wants the chairman of the committee to recuse himself because of previous statements he has made in public regarding this situation. Then two, I'm here as a petitioner, but the main person involved is not present. And remember, that was one of the issues I asked when they suspended her, that if they decide to go ahead and do an investigation, how is she going to present her side? So I want to understand from the Senate committee, are they telling me that we're not going to hear from either one of them? So if you're saying that we're not going to hear from Akpabio, maybe fine, we don't hear from Natasha. But if we're going to hear from Natasha, we should hear from Akpabio. If we're definitely going to hear from Akpabio, we have to hear from Natasha. Yeah. So what exactly is the plan? Yes, people can petition on your behalf. It's a committee on public petitions. But if she's ready, don't forget she's also filed an affidavit in court around the sexual harassment allegations. If she's ready to tender evidence and come in, how are they going to navigate that after suspending her for 6 months? They have to give her a special leeway to come in.
I think for me, they're getting everything all mixed up. Like Lolo says, put the cart before the horse. These are things that we here on the table, we had anticipated because we're thinking ahead. Now, if Senate President is called and he really comes to defend himself, or the suspended senator should be accorded the same privilege to come in, because I don't understand. It means if the Senate President is not here to defend himself and Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan is not also there, what are we doing with this? Do they want to trivialize?
So unfortunately,
this petition?
Speaking of thinking ahead, they are also thinking ahead, because definitely suspending her for that long, this was the reason. It's part of the bigger play, because they felt like, okay, when we suspend her, we now say that we're doing everything by the books. So if they say we're doing everything by the law, she's already suspended, she cannot come anywhere near the premises. And the suspension was without even, before any evidence or investigation was done. So how does she present her case?
There are many things that we do that is they talk about the rule of law, and yet you are circumventing the law. It doesn't make any sense to me. Everybody, there's something called fair play.
You understand?
If you are coming, your hands must be clean. And if you look at the effigy that talks about justice, she carries a scale.
And she's blind.
And she's blind. That means it's not fault. She doesn't see anybody.
No.
It's how this thing weighs. In one side is sways. As long as you can have persuasive evidence. The court, what the judges do is to look at all the matters before it, weighing the evidence. And whether good or bad, that's why some people tell you that if you have a good defense lawyer, you can totally get away with murder. But that is why the onus is on both of them. Go and adduce evidence. Let the court look at it unbiased, and whoever it falls on the side, let it be. But this one that you are publicly doing everything to undermine the suspended senator, he just begins to question that. Why doesn't it
make it feel like also? I don't think many people in the Senate realize that it's also undermining them.
Yes.
That this paintbrush that they're trying to use is also smearing them. And unfortunately, many of them, when you Google their name in the future, is going to be linked to this thing. So let's talk very quickly about the affidavit that Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan has submitted. She said that it was in support of the petition presented by her constituent. It talks about the particulars of the sexual harassment, naming the date, the 8th of December 2023, in company of her husband, and that she said that at that point, Senator Akpabio made unsolicited and inappropriate sexual advances towards her while attempting to show her around his house. What else does she say? She also says she verily believes that the obstruction of her legislative motions was not unconnected to her refusal to accede to the advances made by the Senate President, and that she knows that for a fact this is not the first time Senator Akpabio has been accused of such misconduct. She also lists the issues around the abuse of office and malice as well. And she states that the respondent equally acted in abuse of his office out of malice, which is not unconnected to the facts stated above in support of sexual harassment. She also lists 30th of January 2025 in regards to an executive order that was given by the President of the Federal Republic for commissioning establishment of 5 mini liquefied natural gas projects in Ajaokuta, Kogi State. And she talks about how that's played out. I'm just trying to quickly run you through. And then she also says that I also reasonably believe that the summary decision by the Senate President to allow me to respond to a serious allegation of flagrant disregard against my person was equally malicious in spite of the privilege raised by me. I reserve my right to provide the further particulars and evidence to support my allegations contained in the petition, that I disposed to this affidavit in good faith, believing the contents to be true and correct and in accordance with the oaths Act. And that was also, and don't forget, as we're leaving the show yesterday, was when I announced that the judge that was overseeing her case had recused himself. And so it is just absolutely a very messy situation.
And this is just making us, the whole community, the international community are looking at us. And these are some of the things and this is happening in the month of March. That means a lot of, it's showing that women still have a lot to do, especially in Nigeria, to begin to be able to stand our ground. We'll make giant strides, but sometimes they are making the giant stride look like baby steps, as if we're not even begun at all. And this one is supposed to, I hope it doesn't discourage us women. It should give us more courage. It should make us more resilient that no, we're not just going to keep fighting these gender wars. On this issue, just this little thing, we have heard you're a disgrace to womanhood. We have heard who are you talking to? These are two adults in a professional setting. Even in some offices, Madam Oby will be referred to as Oby, not just as a woman. She is a professional on that table. They probably, they said he wasn't even standing in his capacity as a chief whip. He was there as a respondent. And she was there on behalf of the petitioner. So how can it become, who are you? And all those kind of talk. He still boils down to the fact that he feels offended by her statement because it was said by a woman. If it was a man that said, shut up your mouth, what would it be? A slap or what?
But you know, you're the same one who said that this is not gender, that you don't like the fact that Dr. Ezekwesili told him to shut up.
Totally.
So what you're just saying now is I want to add to the end of it what Blessings has said in regards to the response. Because you're disgrace to womanhood, some of the things, there are ways that men will engage other men that they will not they take it to a different level when it comes to a woman being the one who engages them. We're going to take a break because this is not the only update on this matter. Time is running out, but we have to get to the INEC part of this conversation and give you the latest. Stay with us. As I said before the break, this is not the only update on this matter. Now, in a press release issued on Tuesday, the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, says it has reviewed the recall petition submitted by constituents of Kogi Central Senatorial District Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan's constituency. Now, according to INEC, the petition was submitted with 6 bags containing signatures. It's important, listen though, 6 bags containing signatures of from over half of the 474,554 registered voters across 902 polling units in the 5 local government areas. However, the commission noted a critical flaw in the submission. The petitioners failed to provide valid contact addresses, telephone numbers, and email addresses as required by Clause 1 of INEC's Regulations and Guidelines for Recall 2024. The only contact detail provided was a telephone number of a single lead petitioner, instead of contact details for all representatives of the petitioners as required by the Commission's guidelines, while the address given, Okene, Kogi State, was deemed too vague for official correspondence.
And so INEC has stated that in accordance with the 1999 Constitution, the Electoral Act of 2022 and its regulations and guidelines for recall 2024, the recall process will only move forward once the petition meets all the necessary submission requirements. Now, if these requirements are met, the Commission will commence verification of the signatures using the Bimodal Voter Accreditation System, or BVAS, in an open process where only registered voters who sign the petition will be allowed to participate. So both the petitioners and the senator in question will be allowed to nominate agents to observe the verification, while accredited observers and media personnel will also be present. INEC concluded by reaffirming that the recall process is the prerogative of registered voters who express a loss of confidence in their elected representative, and that if the petition meets the necessary submission requirements, INEC will then proceed with signature verification. The Commission assured the public that it will strictly adhere to legal provisions throughout the process and has also urged citizens to disregard any speculation circulating on social media.
Before we take reactions, Blessings, just I left your stateswoman for you.
So let's just also add that there are questions about the woman who seems to be leading the charge to recall Senator Akpoti-Uduaghan. Charity Ijese Omole is Special Advisor, Youth and Women Affairs to the current Governor of Kogi State, Ahmed Ododo. She's also the chairperson, Kogi Women Development Association. Now, after submitting this petition to INEC, she posted the following on her Facebook page: undeterred, unbroken, unbeaten. So well, you know, the game is the game.
Okay.
The game is the game.
And it's so funny because I genuinely hope that they do their due diligence before they proceed with this petition.
Yeah.
No, INEC has said it hasn't met their
They haven't met the requirements.
If it's signed, like I said earlier, Okene is not the only constituency.
Yes.
Charity is not from Okene. So if you want to look into it properly, there are still Ogori people there. There are still Okene people. There are a lot of people who should be represented, but clearly are not. So I'm just hoping that they really do their findings.
The thing that really maybe makes me sad is the fact that women have not even understood that they are allowing women, they want to dig the graves of others. If
why are you posing?
Yeah, no, we are taking it.
They look like fraudsters.
This is like a poster for a film.
Or a game show.
Game show, yes. I just keep saying that women do not know that. They might not see the agenda now, but this agenda is a bigger picture. Yes, that men just fold their hands and push women forward, that, okay, go and antagonize another woman. And that's why I keep saying that sometimes women, we are the enemies of our own gender. Because if we do not know the general agenda or the bigger picture, you only look at the narrow picture that is before you now. How about if this woman comes out together and wants to run for elective office? Yeah. Do you think women will want to support?
It depends on the woman. So I actually went to her Facebook page today. She's locked it because Nigerians have gone to camp in her Facebook page. As you see, she started off as a special assistant, that she was upgraded to a senior special assistant to the governor on youth and women mobilization, I think, and women affairs or something like that. But how do you post a picture on Facebook, undeterred, unbroken, unbent? So well you know, the game is the game.
It already shows that we are playing.
The game is the game.
How?
The game that has no rules.
See, that's what I'm saying.
Did you sign up for the card game? If you know, sometimes the words, the Bible says that you are ensnared by the words of your mouth. So if you didn't think this was a game, she has made it open.
No, she has made it open.
Yeah, that we are just playing with you. You see that don't recognize the rules of the game.
Even before the Facebook post, in the interview where they had press men interview her, she said it that the game is the game. That's been a mantra. Because at the end of the day,
so let's go back to the petition recall. It's quite interesting to me that the people who are supposedly signing did not provide telephone numbers, contact address, email addresses, and this is what you brought forth to INEC. I like the fact that INEC is detailing.
I'm hoping they will stay that way.
I hope they stay that way.
Because that's the thing.
I want the verification process to be done. Because I go to bank and I sign and they verify. I know one day I'd gone to bank to get a check cleared. Do you know how to sign like 7 times?
Yes.
To be able to be sure.
Yeah.
So we don't want anything. I think this matter wants to rest the way it should rest. It should be on matters of law. Proper investigation. Whether she wins or loses is not where my own agenda is. My own agenda is, let's follow the rules of fair play.
Exactly.
Let everything be done openly. If she does not adduce enough evidence to hold the Senate President accountable, let the court rule.
When you were putting all these things together, one phone number for very vague, what did they actually
Did they even address the videos that was running, that was making that was circulating?
Posted it.
They said we should just leave it and not listen to anything that happens on social media.
Because we glossed over a lot of things, so they're hoping that this will be one of the things.
So this situation, I said it here, but this situation, OTD,
exactly.
It is a fishbone. Because at this point, all the maneuvers, let's be honest, constituents have every right, as INEC said, to recall a senator, to recall anybody, a House of Representatives member who is not doing as they want them to do. And Nigeria has never had a successful recall of a National Assembly member or a House of Representatives member. And we want to start here.
And because the rules are very stringent. Do you know what it takes to recall a person? That means each constituency has to gather. There must be, the voters will come out maybe in each constituency, maybe meet their local government chairman and say, see, we need this done. Then they will mobilize, then they will sign petition. Each constituency. Do you know how long it will take? And you're telling me that you signed this amount of petition in how many days?
We have to go. We can tell you that this is a conversation and a development that's going to continue to go on and on. Even now that we're hearing that a court has told the Senate President that he can't go further. I don't want to quote. Okay, the Court of Appeal in Abuja has adjourned the appeal by the President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, seeking to halt the federal High Court's hearing of Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan's challenge of her suspension. there's going to be updates, and we'll keep you guys updated. For now, we have to go. Let's rest it up and keep things moving. You are watching News Central. You'll have Business Edge coming up next, and at 12 p.m. we have News Central Now. I'm Tolu Akpabio with the ladies on the table. We'll see you later.
See you tomorrow.